It's my pleasure to introduce our next segment, Emily Chang. Emily is Bloomberg TV's anchor based in San Francisco, where she hosts a daily show focused on technology for Bloomberg West. And Emily will be interviewing Evan Cohen, who's general manager of Foursquare. Look forward to the discussion.
Hello. This is very awkward. We'll get used to it.
First of all, did you check in when you got here? Good.
Thank you. Yeah. You know, I haven't yet, so you guys have one up on me. Thank you.
So, Evan, let's start with, so GM is kind of an interesting title for someone at a tech company. What does a GM do?
It stands for general manager. We'll start there. I do everything that's important and not important on the business side. So I was the first non-technical hire at Foursquare. A couple years ago, the team, like every successful startup, was all tech and engineering and product folks, a handful of guys, founded by Dennis Crowley and Naveen Salvadori, of course. And they started to get annoyed at all the, and distracted is the better word, by all the administrative and strategic hassles around money and office space and all the rest of it. So I manage the business functions now. So it's corporate development, business development, marketing, operations, finance, sort of all the nitty-gritty boring stuff. And the folks on the management team do all the fun product stuff.
Okay. So bring us up to date on the latest statistics. You know, what are the numbers, check-ins per day, users, and give us at least one number that's not out there yet so these guys have something to write about.
I don't know if I'll do that, but I'll try. I'll try and give you as much color as possible. So it's we're over 10 million users now. It's about half within the United States, about half outside the United States. That's always a really interesting and cool fact. We're really excited about how explosive the growth is globally, particularly since we haven't really invested abroad. It's the whole team and marketing efforts and so on are, of course, focused in the United States right now, given our size. So there's huge demand worldwide for what we're doing. It's several million check-ins a day. That's a lot of data that we're accumulating every day.
What's several million?
Over 3.
Okay.
My PR folks back at the office will get me if I give the wrong numbers.
What about active users?
It's very healthy. Yeah, I know. There you go.
So I know you guys don't release that number because I've asked Dennis many times and he never tells me.
I bet his answer is a bit more slick than mine.
Why don't you share that number?
It's a fair question. It's basically because our competitors don't. So as these like PR positioning things go, we're in line with what everyone else is doing.
Now.
Was that too frank? Was that too honest an answer?
When I got here, I was in a rush, but I actually forgot to check in. How do you bring this into the mainstream? So it's not just, I know there's a broad base of people that use it, but it's not just tech-interested, tech-savvy people, but that, people across the country are interested in using this. And the people that started using it actually continue to use it.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, from early days, we recognized that the sort of like hardcore usage case of like checking in 8 times a day and throwing it to Twitter and Facebook, which is optional on Foursquare. You don't have to do it, but you can. That like really extreme location sharing behavior was a really interesting one and something that appealed to a certain core group of power users, but not necessarily mainstream. So we've been thinking since early days about how to add value beyond the check-in and how to make sure that Foursquare is delivering really useful and interesting services beyond just location sharing. So a few themes that emerge from that have been our focus on discovery, search, explore, that whole set of concepts. So when we think about what's important about people using Foursquare, it's not just telling your friends where you are, it's figuring out where to go next. So you walk out of work at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and we want folks to pull out Foursquare as their first thing out of their pocket and put on the mobile phone just to figure out what's going on tonight. Maybe part of that's where are my friends right now, but it might be, what's a great movie that I should see that Foursquare is going to recommend based on all my check-in history in the past. What's a great new restaurant nearby that I should go to based on what my friends like to do. All the different things that we can cull from the data drive and create really powerful algorithms to make suggestions. So that's one sort of area of value that we can add over the check-in. or on top of the check-in. And another thing to mention is probably the whole world around loyalty, deals, and discounts. So this doesn't have to do specifically with location sharing at all. It's about, what's a merchant or a place nearby that is willing to sort of give me a little bit of a freebie or a little bit of a hook to get me to come in. And it doesn't necessarily have to be 50% off the meal, but it can be, because I've come 10 times in the last month, the merchant offers me the best table in the house. Or I'll give you a real-world example. There's a mall in New Jersey where the Foursquare mayor, that's the person who has checked in more than anyone else to that mall, the Foursquare mayor has a dedicated parking spot right next to the front door, and there's like a little sign that says reserved for the Foursquare mayor. So we love, we call them specials. That's our sort of word that's sort of like mobile coupons, but it's more. It's like we love empowering merchants to give their customers really cool, fun things.
What about Foursquare Radar? That's relatively new, right? It's
Sure,
a
yep.
check-in reminder kind of a thing, kind of like Siri might do on Apple?
Yeah, sort of. I'm glad you brought it up. It was something we've been thinking about a long time and have been really excited to launch. It just came out a few weeks ago. Still in early days, but it's getting better and better. And the idea is that Foursquare is going to help remind you as a user, to go do something that might be on your to-do list. We have this concept or this product within Foursquare of a to-do list. It's almost like a bookmarking service for the real world. And on my to-do list on Foursquare are the 30 restaurants I want to go to in New York, or the 10 jazz clubs, or what have you. And what Radar does is when you're physically near one of those items on your to-do list, we sort of send you a pop-up reminder on your phone. And of course, you can opt out and opt in and finagle the obtrusiveness of it. So we don't want to be intrusive. But the idea is to bring Foursquare's value to you even when you don't have the app open.
Now, Foursquare is clearly the leader in location-based services. But when you think about growing beyond the user base that you have already, are there any concerns that geolocation is a fad?
I don't think it is. I think location is immensely powerful, and the really profound enabling things that have affected the space, of course, and from which we're benefiting, are not fads. It's like all of a sudden, the last 2 years, 800 million people have incredibly powerful computers in their pockets. I'm referring to smartphone penetration and growth. All of a sudden, slightly longer time scale in the last 4 or 5 years, the world has learned to share and connect with friends through digital environments from Facebook and Twitter. All of a sudden, in the last 2 years, Groupon, Living Social, and other pioneers in the daily deal space have completely revolutionized local advertising. So there's these huge trends which sort of all intersect, mobile, local, social, and Foursquare really sits at the intersection of those three. And I think when we think about our trajectory and our potential, I think you could be skeptical if you don't think any of those three meta forces are powerful, but I think they are, and they're really profound, and hopefully we'll continue to benefit from them.
The number of check-ins also, kind of like Twitter, it plays to people's vanity and how many followers you have. What about the gamification aspect of that? Is that a passing thing?
We really love the gamification stuff. I think there's like a portion of it that's a little bit more on the like fun, enticing side. Like there's a side of it that's like that gets people excited to try out Foursquare, and then they sort of move on from the gaming stuff to the utility stuff. And the utility stuff, which is I guess an awful phrase, but what I'm referring to is like the core value that we think we're delivering to users to help them find their friends, find new places. So yeah, it's sometimes like the game for certain of our users. I think the game aspects are like a gateway drug. They get people hooked on using Foursquare, and then they use the other services. So
you're trying to drug people.
Yeah, there's your quote.
Okay.
For other users, there's genuine and ongoing value, I think, in the gamification things, and sometimes people think of them as it's the silly badges or what have you, but more broadly we think about them as achievements and ways to compete against your friends and yourself to do interesting things, and that's powerful. So we're going to continue to enhance those gaming aspects to make it more fun and goad you to do. And encourage you, maybe that's a good verb, to go out and do things in the real world that you might not have done otherwise.
So if indeed it's not going anywhere, what should media companies and brands be doing with gamification and the gamification of geolocation, or however you'd like to put it?
Yeah, sure. So we currently work with hundreds and hundreds of media companies and brands, and we love those relationships. And from Foursquare's point of view, I'll quickly answer that. It adds so much engagement and excitement within our platform. For media companies, they're using platforms like Foursquare to extend the relationships that they might have that they do have with their viewers and readers on one platform to the real world. So if you're a TV station, of course, you've traditionally only interacted more or less with your viewership on TV. If you're a publisher through print or newspaper magazines, Foursquare lets you take some of those relationships and some of the content you may have developed for your traditional platform and bring them into the real world. That's kind of a cool and powerful idea. So I'll give you a couple examples. One of the things that, or first, let me give you one sentence of context. So how does a media company work with Foursquare? They create a brand, what we call a brand page within Foursquare. It's the same idea as Twitter and Facebook. You create a page identity. So, you can go to foursquare.com/Bravo or foursquare.com/MTV and get to those brand pages. And what's on those pages, especially, that's probably the coolest thing, is a series of tips. So tips is our word for like mini reviews. And when you go to a place and check in on Foursquare, you see various tips that people have written about the place, or that brands or media companies have written about the place. So if I check into a restaurant in Midtown, I might see 6 of my friends have said, "Oh, make sure you sit by the window on the south because the sun comes in the afternoon," or ask for the key lime pie and it's not on the menu. You get these kind of insider tips, and brands and media companies can play in that too. So, an example, we do a lot of really cool stuff with the History Channel. Both here and in the UK. And the History Channel has created thousands of tips where they write up little historical nuggets about different places in the real world, and those get surfaced within Foursquare when I check in. So, for example, I check into Madison Square Garden, and the History Channel sends me a little message. It's a tip, and it says, "Oh, did you know in..." I'm making this up because I forget the example. In 1852, Madison Square Garden used to be a bull ring, or whatever. Or that was made up. Don't quote me on that. Or actually, this is a real one. I was in London a couple weeks ago. I checked into 10 Downing Street. Oh, did you know 10 Downing Street was made with yellow bricks, and then the soot made it black, or what have you. So it's a way to take that relationship that History Channel has with viewers and bring it out into the real world.
A little-known company called Groupon went public today. They're up 40% so far, if anyone's wondering, already at $18 billion valuation. But you guys also do deals with Groupon and Living Social, daily deals companies. How are those working out?
Yeah, they're good. We have a whole range of services for merchants, and we're very aggressively building out what we call internally merchant tools, because we feel like we have such a good opportunity to make those tools really powerful for merchants, and those add to the user experience. So we really think a lot about this space. And so some of the things we're doing are these distribution deals, quote unquote, with third parties like Groupon, Living Social, Buy With Me, Guilt, and about 5 or 8 others right now. In addition, we have our own specials, which are sort of like mobile coupons. I mentioned them before. And those surface when merchants want to reward someone for coming back several times, or when they want to reward someone for showing up with 5 friends or showing up with 50 strangers. We have all these different sort of special types. So all of these deals sort of fall in the bucket of merchant tools, and generally things are good, but we see this as a huge strategic direction, obviously, for the company. So we are investing more and more time into building these out.
One of Groupon's more recent services is Groupon Now, which offers more real-time deals, also location-based. That's kind of treading on your territory, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah. Well, I mean, we're very friendly with the Groupon guys, and I'm very excited for them on the big day today, on their big day today. But sure, the companies are sort of veering towards the same space. So there could be competitive tones and overtones in the future.
They have a huge marketing budget.
They do, yes.
How do you compete with that?
They do. Well, so yes, we're chasing some of the same things, but the core competencies and the characteristics of the services are very different. And they do a whole bunch of things well, but so do we, I hope. And I'll mention two things that I think are really pertinent. One is that Foursquare is a social network. It's a mobile social network. So we have this social layer. It's not a layer. It's like the DNA of the service. And Groupon doesn't have that. And I think it's really, really important because in this race to be the thing that you open when you leave work at 6 o'clock or when you are whatever at home on the Saturday, figuring out what you're going to do Saturday night 2 hours from now, the first thing you care about most of the time is what your friends are doing and or what your friends recommend and suggest. So we have all of the positioning to build that into Foursquare, and other services don't. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we're very loyalty focused, and some of the big daily deal companies are very acquisition focused, right? They're all about, their whole pitch is, hey, we'll get 3,000 customers in your door tomorrow. And that's cool for certain merchants and given certain goals, but it also can be overwhelming. It's adverse selection. A lot of those customers are deal hunters and they'll never come back again. Like there's some problems maybe with that model. By contrast, built into Foursquare, because you check in regularly as you go to places, is this loyalty idea. So we can help merchants reward someone not for coming first time and then never showing up again, but for showing up 10 times, for being the mayor, for telling their friends about it. So I think we're pretty well positioned.
So you're saying Groupon should care more about their customers?
I didn't say that, did I?
Does Groupon's success or failure impact Foursquare at all, given the overlapping things?
I think so in like the short term or in a superficial way, but not fundamentally. And so what I mean is, right now they're of course the big gorilla in the local advertising space, which is very transformative and dynamic right now. So sure, I think in the short term their fortunes will create a certain mindset in the media and the public perception, maybe in the investor world about local advertising. So if they do badly, that might create some kind of meme, some cultural meme. Oh, local advertising is not changing. But I don't think fundamentally their success or failure will impact our trajectory.
What about Google? Their marketing budget is even bigger. Google Offers is expanding. They just did their first national deal yesterday. Google has the power to integrate with Google Maps to advertise on Android.
Google is a good company, yes. Insight, coming from the stage. Yes, thank you. I was talking before a bit about Explore, Discovery, and referencing our ambition to, as I said outright, to help people find great things to do in the real world. And sometimes we think about that internally, or especially when I'm in front of an investor, as, hey, yeah, we want to be Google for the real world, right? Because it's like Google for the online world is about search and discovery, and I think Foursquare has an opportunity to be that for the offline world. The problem or challenge, of course, is that Google wants to be Google for the offline world. So indeed, they're focusing very much, of course, on real-world search and maps and so on. Again, in a way, one of the same answers as Groupon. Obviously, they're a great company. I think they're going to be a competitor. But I think one of the things that we really have that they don't is the social graph and the social DNA. And so I hope and think that will be a key part of our success.
So my guess is that Google or even Groupon would love to buy Foursquare. Is Foursquare going to stay independent? Can it be a big idea, a big public company, or is it more of an acquisition target?
We have huge ambitions for the company, and it really only works. It being like very technology-centric, complex, product-oriented experience like that. To build that really only works when you're independent, and there's a lot of reasons for it. But like we're at a very young, fragile stage, and we need the flexibility, the nimbleness, the manic obsessiveness and focus of the company in an independent mindset to really succeed. So we're good as is, and I'm going to cut off your follow-up question because I guess you're going to probe and say just one more thing, which is kind of the proof is in the pudding. Like there's according to the blogs, I can't confirm or deny, but there's been talks of acquisitions in the past, and like we've stayed
valuations, $600 million.
We've stayed independent. We've continued to raise money instead of taking different roads. So it's our decisions to date sort of, I think, show our commitment to building this business.
So what's next for Foursquare? I mean, are you hiring? Where are you hiring? Where are you expanding?
We almost are at our 100th employee. That's really exciting. I think we just gave out an offer to number 98. So I'm really excited. It's like the
That is
the
exciting.
seven billionth baby was born the other day. This is going to be kind of our equivalent. So that feels like a fun milestone. We're moving offices because of that. So we've just hired our first non-U.S. employee. We opened up a office, quote unquote, in the U.K. That means a rental desk for now, but we'll be continuing to build on that one first hire in the U.K. We have a nice, really powerful, strong, but small satellite engineering office in San Francisco. Our headquarters are here in New York. So we're growing as fast as we can. We're hiring engineers and product people as fast as we can because we feel like we're sitting on a big opportunity and we need more people to do it.
Okay, we do have about 4 minutes left for anyone who would like to ask a question. So start coming up to the microphone if you would like to speak. What about credit card companies? Are they friend or foe?
They're friends. We have a great relationship with American Express.
They're also, though, starting to do check-ins and deals.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise in the ecosystem. You could put it that way. Everyone is trying to do things around deals. I think the kind of fragmentation works in our favor. In other words, we're trying to build, one experience that delivers your friends, suggestions, deals. Each one of these categories, you could drill down into and find big companies or small startups trying to laser focus just on recommendations or just on mobile social networking. And I do think, sort of the one-stop shop integrated experience will win out. So we feel good about that. Credit card companies are looking, another way to sort of relatedly, credit card companies are looking to partner with companies that are building new technology tools, that have social networks, that are doing things for smartphones. They don't have those core capabilities as part of those big companies. So our sort of business development relationships with those guys have been great, especially Amex, where we've announced a deal and have done a number of really successful trials. So at the moment, those are really complementary relationships.
Now, given that Foursquare does what a lot of other companies dabble in, who do you think of as your competition? And I'll get to you after that.
It's a good question. It's, I guess, two buckets. One is the small, hungry, hustling startup that is in the proverbial garage and has learned from us and everyone else and what we've done right and wrong over the last 2 years, and kind of has that has that ability to fix things and do things afresh. So there's no one major on the radar screen right now, but we're always sort of, I think, healthily anxious about what might be coming next out of the Valley or New York or Boston or Seattle or anywhere really these days. The other category are the big companies, right? We've been a little bit of a victim of our own success, maybe. Success in terms of, especially the sort of attention and hype and notoriety that we've gotten for the company. Because indeed, Google, Facebook, Groupon, Twitter, all the big usual suspects are thinking very hard about location and mobile. So I don't know, it kind of feels like we're competing with everyone a little bit, or will be.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
There was talk before about frictionless sharing, and I'm wondering if Foursquare's ever looked at the idea of something checking you in automatically when your phone senses you've just arrived at Dunkin' Donuts, or do privacy concerns kind of make that a bad idea?
Yeah, excuse me, it's a good question. So this new tool, Radar, that we mentioned, sort of has the potential to do that. As I described earlier, we're able to deliver to you, even when the app is not open, we're able to deliver relevant content or reminders. Hey, you're near that thing that restaurant you would wanted to check out. Or another way that Radar works is, hey, you're 3 blocks away from 6 of your friends. We'll alert you if you're nearby a group of friends. The auto check-in kind of is theoretically possible. It's something that we're thinking about. We may test it here and there, but we're a little bit wary of it because location sharing is so sensitive. We build in all these controls for privacy protection. We give consumers so many ways to to be protective of their location. I mean, of course, the whole model is, you don't just, your location is not shared automatically, right? You raise your hand, you say, today, right now I want to be found, I'm comfortable sharing my location, I'll check in, right? That was sort of the original paradigm of the whole service. So, so yeah, we want to be, very cautious about anything that sort of too aggressively goes against that.
Thanks.
Last question. What's one thing that you guys are working on that you're most excited about?
Good question. Okay, I'll give you a very specific answer. So we have a new product coming up. It's called Save to Foursquare, and we're launching it in just 3 or 4 weeks. And it's it's one of those buttons that you see all over the web, like you see the like button and the Twitter button, the follow Twitter button. So it's our version of that. It's called Save to Foursquare, and it's a tool for publishers who are writing content on the web about places to let users take the content and throw it onto their Foursquare account. So what I mean is, maybe you're at the website of New York Magazine or Time Out Magazine, and you're reading their restaurant reviews of the great restaurants to try this week, and it catches your eye, and you're like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great restaurant. That's out in Brooklyn. Well, in the old world, you would kind of forget about that, and because it wouldn't be 8 weeks until you're out in Brooklyn, and you wouldn't have remembered that you had that experience or that interest 8 weeks prior when you were reading the magazine. In this new world, you can hit the Save to Foursquare button, the restaurant review and the restaurant name gets thrown onto your Foursquare to-do list. So it's almost like taking the content and like putting it in your pocket, and then 8 weeks later when you're in Brooklyn, we'll send you a reminder that says, hey, you were meant to check this out. New York Magazine had suggested you try this, and now you're 3 blocks away. So that's something pretty cool. It's this idea of bookmarking the real world and taking online content to help improve your offline experience. So we're psyched about that.
When's it going to be out?
I just said 3 or 4 weeks in 2011. Let me say that. Always safe to be cautious when talking about product launches. So
Okay.
2011.
We'll look out for it.
Good.
All right. Evan Cohen, General Manager of Foursquare.
Thank you.